Ndayendo narusesero bavenda and every tribe that is here. Welcome to another special, tongue-tickling, marvelous, elegant, beautiful show of the youth seminar. And we are coming to you live and direct from Rosebank, Polokwane campus. I'm invited here to come and document art in visual. Of course, I'm well known for documenting art in visuals. And yes, we are going to unpack some topics here. We have 4 topics that we are going to break down or unpack. We have the mental health topic, unemployment, the value of education in our digital economy, and lastly, it's GBV and substance abuse. Joining me here in stage, I have the president of Rosebank Polokwane campus, who is Mr. Edward Ramagwele. I'm saying it correct, ne?
Whichever way. The Zulu people, they say Ramagwele. The proper way of saying it's Ramagwele.
Okay. And I have Mr. Kakisho Mahlatsi, who is a lecturer here at Rosebank. How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Yes, and we have Ms. Tepo Seima, who is our operation officer. Correct, ne? And we have Ms. Francina Machi, who is our student wellness manager. And we have you guys. You look beautiful. Round of applause to you guys. Not to forget my team, Masters Podcast team. Big shout out to you guys for being here. So I know a lot of you might be asking yourself, why do we celebrate Youth Day? Because we are recording this show 2 days, 1 day from today. We are going to celebrate Youth Day, June 16. A lot of you might be asking yourself, why do we celebrate Youth Day? I must say we do celebrate Youth Day to commemorate the Soweto uprising of June 16, 1976, a day that began as a peaceful demonstration by thousands of students against apartheid education policies, resulted in a massacre of these school children by the apartheid police. The only thing that rings a bell when June 16 is mentioned is Hector Peterson, but we do have people like Florence Magadani, Mahasha Daniel, Chabalala Christopher, and not to forget Williams George. These were other people who were part of the Soweto uprising, June 1976. A lot of you might be asking yourself why we are breaking down the 4 topics mentioned above. Mental health is a challenge to the youth of Mzansi. We are a sad generation with fake happy smiles. Mental health problem can affect a student's energy level, concentration, and hindering performance. Research suggests that depression is associated with lower grade points averages. As for unemployment, the total unemployment increasing by 370,000 to 14.9 million compared to the previous quarter, while unemployment declined to 60,000 by 60,000 to 7.9 million, resulting in an official unemployment rate of 34.5%. The fourth industrial revolution. Digital education enables teachers to pace learning according to individuals' needs. The reason why it is important to learn about digital economy is because education raises people's productivity and creativity and promotes entrepreneurship and technological advances. In addition, it plays a very crucial role in securing economic and social progress and improving economic distribution. Thousands and thousands of domestic cases are reported almost each and every day in SA. Pity, not only women are abused in our country, but also men. Not to forget children who are innocent and who are falling for their parents' mistakes. It simply means, our fathers are the one who makes mistakes and we pay for them. I must be specific that we are having this seminar to challenge the real world so that we can be ready to run this world, because we are the future of this country. Edward, I want to start with you, sir.
Yeah.
Mental health.
Yeah.
What is the impact of mental health in our youth?
Well, there are so many levels or layers.
Yes.
Right? How
Yes.
it can impact us, right? And
You can remove your mask so that you can be audible enough.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, as I was saying, that there are so many layers to
Yes.
it, right? And by the look of things right now, because we are living in the digital world, 21st century,
Of course.
everything is digitalized, and I try to relate that to our sadness, as you have rightly put it before. And then I would say now, like a lot of people, whether or not we know it or we don't know it, right? We suffer from a little bit part of it. We addicted to something, especially the social media. I remember I was just reading this other article just a couple of hours ago, right? And they were talking about how like preschool children would be addicted to the gadgets, right? So you and I as millennials or the Gen Zs, it's obvious because we grew up around gadgets and everything, right? To do with that. So mental health, it's a big thing. And also if you add the unemployment rate as well, you just add on the pressure, right? So I think we're in trouble, but just to put it clear, we're in trouble because we have a deficit of mental health awareness, especially in the black community. And you would understand that in the black community, things like your ADHD, schizophrenia, Alzheimer, they are not really things that you talk about. If like you're struggling academically, instead of, oh, let's maybe try therapy, what, it's most probably that this guy is only amadozi or whatever. So for now I would say we're in trouble because we still have a long way as far as like educating ourselves in terms of mental health.
I'm glad you did mention about competition.
Yeah.
Why do you think, as a youth, why do you think we like pressurizing each other about owing certain things?
The pressure, I think it's not even about why.
Yes.
Human beings, we are competitive beings. I think in this room we all want to be successful.
Of course.
I think we all want to drive nice cars, we all want to be number one with whatever that we do. So you have to understand the first element, it comes naturally to us to just be competitive, right?
Yes.
And then when you put that with social media, when you put that with your Instagram, and then you sort of, you have comparison to say, oh, other people are living like this, and then when you are not in that level, it feels like your life is on stagnant and you're not moving and so on and so forth.
How are you personally dealing with, or how do you personally deal with mental health?
I'm big on that, man. I'm big on going green. I'm big on mental health.
Okay.
So for me, I would have a social media detox, whatever it's called.
Okay.
So sometimes I would try to be off the media, but also I'm big on self-love. So I intentionally try to make myself happy. Whether it's taking myself on a date, whether it's taking myself on a walk, whether it's reading books, so whether it's listening to music as well. So there's so many things that you can do.
Okay, I get it. Madam Francina Machie, you are a student wellness manager here at Rosebank College. Please break down for us mental health in simple terms.
Okay. So, mental health is the well-being.
Yes.
Right? Well-being of each and every person, either emotionally, psychologically, and socially, right? So we are thriving to get the mental health, emotionally, psychologically, and socially. When we talk about emotionally, there we are referring to you having the positive emotions, right? We are saying have positive emotions, be happy, be excited, bring in the positiveness that is going to help you cope emotionally. Goes with the psychological well-being, right? So the social aspect of it, we are saying to students when we are saying you are mentally well, mental health. The social aspect of it is say socialize, right? Have friends, because if then you don't have friends, you are isolating yourself. You are not allowing positive emotions to come through. So have friends, engage in conversations, either with your family members. So have a social aspect that is well to improve on your mental health. So there are three aspects to mental health: is your physical, your psychological, your emotional, and the social. If you get this right, then we are referring you as being able to cope with all the emotional health and the mental health.
What is the difference between mental illness and mental breakdown?
There's not much really, because when we say you are having mental breakdown, you are a bit overwhelmed, right? Mental illness, now you are diagnosed. You get it?
Yes.
So you are not able to cope, either emotionally, psychologically, or socially. You are overwhelmed. That's when you get your anxieties, your panic attacks, because you are not coping. But now the mental illness, that's when you get diagnosed either with depression, with your anxiety disorders, with the schizophrenia he mentioned. So there you are relying on medication to cope.
And the symptoms, how does one see, or I think I'm suffering from mental illness?
Well, your symptoms there can be lack of sleep, you are no longer interested, you are isolating yourself, you are having the negative emotions, right? Actually, you used to having positive emotions.
Yes.
Now your mood swings, that is when you need to go and consult.
Oh, so in short, the only way to avoid mental illness is to consult someone.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Say, Kakit,
Yes.
mental health. Do you think there is enough discussion or attention to mental illness in school?
Well, I think the right answer for that would be no.
Okay.
We live in a society where I think the whole idea of having mental health is stigmatized. I'm saying this because you are either dysfunctional, depressed, or just in some form wanting to seek attention. Let me put it to you. We are in a school setup and a person starts crying in the classroom. What is your honest thought in that moment? Oh, they either broke up with that person.
Of course.
But you see, at the end of the day, when we talk about mental well-being, is as humans, it should be acceptable for us to bear and show all of our emotions, because we live in a society that is accepting. You don't have to be hysterical or dramatic, or you don't have to fall down because you have collapsed, because you're trying to hide the idea that you are just not coping. Of course, it's a lot. And, you know, with social media, I think there's a lot of projection. Yeah, I think all of us have at some point been a little bit superficial. What do I mean by this? When you take a picture and the first thing you think about is WhatsApp or Instagram.
Posting.
Why? Why is that?
To show off, I guess.
But why? let's go off. But why?
You can answer on my behalf, sir. I'm doing the questioning.
Why do you go to the views? Who viewed my status?
I think that makes you feel good.
Exactly. So we are consuming energies that have nothing to do with more of who we are. And you go into the school setup, the workplace, and you are reflecting energies that have nothing to do with you. Socially you are dysfunctional, and she said, listen, socially you need to be okay. Emotionally you are more dependent on who likes and who does not like. This is why celebrities, I love this guy, Double HP, fell into depression. Why? Because he felt like at some point I was not receptive of the environment that I once created for ourselves. And if we can get to a point where we acknowledge that, listen, let's forget you being a boy, a man, or woman. Let's have an inclusive environment where I'm not saying cry over everything, but if I have to cry, the first thing I should not worry about is they're going to think I'm crazy.
But it's good to cry.
Definitely.
Yes.
Of course. People cry at weddings. We don't question that.
Do you think the school environment or work environment has made enough adjustments to deal with mental health issues?
I'll still say no. Listen, we have, is it SADC? They are pushing the line on coming out saying, you know what, guys, I'm not okay. But if it was not for COVID, we wouldn't have so much attention given to this. Once again, if I come, I'm a lecturer, and I say, ish, guys, I'm depressed. How many of my students, if they knew that I'm depressed, would actually be receptive to what I'm teaching?
Yeah.
How many of them would look beyond the fact that I'm still able to do my job, but I am a human as well? You know, I like what T.D. Jakes once said. He said, so many of you want to be like me and my wife, the perfect couple. But if you knew who I am, if you knew what we had to go through, if you had to walk through what I walked through, you wouldn't love me at all or like me at all. So my point is, in the workplace, in the school environment, there's still a lot of acceptance that we need to do, because at the end of the day, we are more, like I said, accepting of energies that have nothing to do with more of who we are. And once we start having those conversations to say, depression is real.
Yeah.
You find somebody has posted on social media, this guy killed himself. And somebody would say, but why would somebody choke themselves to death? When you get to such a state where you are dysfunctional in the way you think, it's not really about what somebody, will feel. It's about, I'm overwhelmed, I need to have this stop. So we still need to have a lot of discussions. I don't see any legislative framework. The employment framework, for the employment equity for everybody has not been openly discussed about how then do we, make somebody feel overwhelmed. I know businesses have to deal with profits, have to deal with, the image, but there's still a lot to be done. So there's still a lot of dysfunction that needs to be corrected.
Mr. Bo, do you think mental health is overrated in today's age?
Mental health being overrated in today's age. I think maybe that statement is talking more to the fact that people are so open about speaking about mental wellness. It might sound like it's overrated because everyone is probably saying, oh, I'm just having a depressive day, I'm going through a depressive episode, I've got anxiety about a test, I've got anxiety about this. I don't think it's overrated. We're just a generation of people or youth people that are more open about it. I don't think we've had a generation that has been so vulnerable enough about saying, listen, I'm at my weakest point right now, mentally, emotionally, and physically, and I just need space. So it might sound like it's overrated because it sounds like we use it as a crutch to say, okay, listen, I'm going through an episode. It's anxiety, it's depression, I want to isolate myself from whatever's happening just so I can deal with myself. But I definitely don't think it's overrated. If anything, we should be commended for speaking and being so open about it, because like Kakesho said, we need to be in a society that is open and receptive to people that show their emotions. It shouldn't be something that we want to laugh at because someone is having a breakdown. That is normal. They're breaking down because they're dealing with normal day-to-day problems, and why shouldn't they break down? So I don't think it's overrated at all.
What are the useful steps do you think one can implement to deal with mental health?
Mental health. I think I'm going to speak from a introvert's perspective. Introverts like to keep to themselves quite a lot. So I think we are more susceptible to things that could hinder our mental wellness. Like I think one of the panelists mentioned before, when you keep to yourself a lot, you are more prone to dwelling in your thoughts too much, and those can crush you, can literally crush yourself or sink yourself into depression. So steps that you can take to avoid such situations, I guess, would be spend more time outside than you do inside.
In public?
Physically and mentally.
Okay.
I used to have a colleague before that used to, when I was doing my research, he would always say, get yourself out of the situation. I was doing a research project that spoke about human trafficking and the effects that peacekeepers had, or the impact they had in the trends of human trafficking. And I got so emotionally attached to that project. He would say, get yourself outside of the project and work on it. So when you remove yourself from a situation and you look at it as an outsider, you immediately stop being so emotionally attached and mentally deprived by it. So physically and mentally, go outside. Listen to other people's opinions about certain things. Go outside and do other activities except being on your phone and watching TV. Binge watching shows for like 3 days in a row. Being inside. Just get outside and do other things. Stay active. And like speak to your friends. Speak to them about literally anything. If it comes to push and shove, then set up a date with your friend, even if you don't live in the same area, where you literally are on a phone call for an hour a day, just catching about every small thing. What did you cook? What did you have? What's that annoying aunt of yours saying this weekend? What's the update?
No,
just
I get it.
Get outside of your head.
I get
and
it.
Interact with other people.
Unemployment is our second topic. Madam Maji, do you think not getting a job after spending years in university or in college can also cause mental health or mental illness?
Yeah, it can. Remember, mental illness is having negative emotions, negative thoughts. Now, every day I'm looking for a job. I'm submitting my CVs with my last 50 rand, making copies. I'm not getting a response. I get reject emails. That can cause a person to think there's something wrong with them. What's wrong with me? Is it how I draft my CV? Is it my qualification? So you start to doubt yourself, and that can lead you to having emotional breakdown that we spoke about initially, right? So it can also lead to depression, right? So it depends on how we respond to mental illness, so that we avoid getting the emotional breakdown. I always say, when it's the right time, the Lord will make it happen, right? So when you tell yourself it's not yet the right time, like find something that will make you cope better, a coping mechanism. I use that line, I personally. So for others, we find a coping mechanism. Again, we are different. We are unique in our own ways. So what makes you cope? Edward also, there's the other one that makes him cope. So find something that helps you cope better, so that you avoid the mental breakdown and mental illness.
I read it somewhere, or if you are unemployed, you can also suffer from low self-esteem.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
It depends, really. It depends. I'm talking about the uniqueness of each and every one, right? We respond to different things differently, right? Self-esteem, you may suffer from it, but if you get your confidence, you're not going to suffer from that. So there are people who have low self-esteem, but they need positive something that will lead to them getting self-confidence, right? So it can affect your self-esteem if you are suffering from self-esteem. But if you are confident with yourself, you may not. So it depends on how each and everyone is responding to any different aspect of their life. Right?
Yeah, I get it. To some, not having a job, of course we have to create a source of income just to sustain ourselves. Like myself, I created Master's Podcast. But to some people, they have to steal in order for them to have a source of income. What is your advice to someone who's not getting a job out there, who's thinking of doing illegal things just to get source of income?
I'm one person who does not judge. What I do does not allow me to judge. But I encourage people to do the right thing. Right. So I would say, look at the risks that comes with what you are doing. Right? So the crime that you're committing is going to make you end up somehow in jail or whatever. That can affect the future chances of you getting a job because you have a criminal record. So that's me highlighting how your actions can affect your goals. But I will never say to a person, don't do this, do that, do that.
But we're talking about illegal.
I encourage people to not do stuff that are going to let them.
Don't steal.
Don't steal yet. If you steal, this is going to happen. But if you try to maybe create side hustle, there's 50 rand, sell sweets, this 50 rand will give you 100 rands. After 100 rands, you add bananas, they're going to get 200 up until you get to 1,000, and you make sure that you grow what you have.
And pride. Some people have pride, they can't sell, while they have what they can sell at home. You just mentioned bananas and fruits, let's just say fruits. Some people have trees at their homes, but they're not willing to because of pride.
We are different, right?
Yes.
Going to talk about uniqueness again. We are different.
Yes.
I wouldn't mind going to the streets selling.
Yes.
The next person will be like, hell no. What is it that you love doing?
Yes.
Then we go there. Okay, this is what I love doing. So based on what you love doing, look at opportunities that can help you then make money out of it. Legally. So it's how different we are, how unique we are, how our interests, and then we enhance each other's differences and make sure that we all win at the end of the day, but in a different way that best suits us. Because if we say to a person, go to the street, whereas I know I'm not a street person, I will still come back with a whole pack of sweets without selling them, because that's not what I love. So if you do what you love, you're going to excel. So let's explore what you love then.
Not everyone is like DJ's Boo. Madam T, unemployment is a sensitive issue in SA. What's your take on unemployment?
Unemployment is definitely a sensitive issue because we have such huge stats. If you looked at recent stats, a large majority of our youth are unemployed, and they used to say education is the key, and for some reason someone went and changed the locks. Now it's no longer education. I don't know how many people have heard of that have a degree in one program, they've got honors in another.
Yes.
We've got masters and we're still sitting at home. So it's quite a sensitive situation, but I can safely say that it's not a nice place to be in at all. I once resigned from a job and I experienced unemployment for 4 months, and trust you me, it wasn't nice at all.
But you resigned.
That goes back to mental wellness, because some work environments are not the best for your mental wellness. So I had to choose that over employment. So you think you want a job until you actually have a job.
I get it.
Yeah.
How do you think SA can tackle unemployment in the near future?
I think one of the best ways, people keep on preaching entrepreneurship.
Yes,
if
local
we all
businesses.
started selling stuff, who's going to buy?
Yes.
Honestly. Like if I'm
Can you repeat that?
If we all started selling stuff, who is going to buy? Not everyone can sell. Not everyone has the passion to be an entrepreneur. I swear I do not have the passion. I don't even want to deal with customers.
This is the time that you use a pack of sweets.
And I'll come back with the sweets and I'll be like, well, what was I supposed to do? I'm probably going to be selling them theories and philosophies about life.
Yes.
I'll try to get to know the person, but I won't sell anything.
Yes.
So I think the best ways to tackle unemployment is more looking at, and this is more to our youth now, you look at what the scarce skills are. I think when we were in high school, or if you are in high school, no one really prepares you for the outside world. They just tell you, maybe these are the top 3 degrees that everyone is enrolling into. No one really tells you, is this degree actually needed? Are you going to be able to use it in the next 5 to 10 years? Are you going to be able to get a job in it? Or is it something that you can even start your own career in? So look at what the scarce skills are and go for those. Also pair them with what you like. You don't want to just study a degree because it was the most difficult and maybe the most not enrolled into, but are you going to enjoy being in it? So look at what the scarce skills are. Like right now we have countries, they call them the Asian tigers, that managed to overturn their economies because they started developing so much in tech industries. So it just shows you that careers are changing and they're evolving. No longer are we all wanting to be doctors, nurses, teachers.
Pilots.
Those are the traditional careers.
Yes.
And clearly are very overswamped and they are congested. We can't all be lawyers. We can't all be policemen. You have to look at the scarce skills now, which is the tech industries. What's going on there? It's like a booming industry. What can you do and how can you get your foot in the door?
How often do you support local businesses?
Yeah?
How often do you support local businesses?
Okay, local businesses, I think everyone is going to talk about clothes and shoes and all of that. Local
Fashion,
businesses
yes.
Also our universities, guys. I go to South African universities. I'm definitely supporting local businesses, yes.
Okay.
I'm doing my fashion.
Oh, you're doing fashion?
Yep.
Oh,
I buy my shonja from Venda when I go home. I buy acha from there.
Okay.
I don't buy acha from Pick and Pay.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And your favorite business, local business?
I would have to say this new sneaker everyone is wearing, Drip.
Oh.
Yes, the kids like it, adults like it. So if you have an entire family wearing that brand,
Shout out to Mr. Lekau.
supporting local brands, yeah.
Shout out to Mr. Lekau. Say,
Yes.
unemployment. What is your comment around unemployment, education, and skill development?
Now you're tickling me. I know you're tickling me. I'm sure we have time for that. Because, okay, Maya Angelou says nothing works unless
You're a fan of those guys, ne?
No, it's really puzzling, and I'm just going to try and break up those concepts so that you get why this whole unemployment issue peeves me a lot. You know, I'm a lecturer, so I hope this does not seem somehow. I hope.
Yeah.
But please bear with me. Listen, the whole concept of school, where it began and how it began, short story version of it. Schools mostly in our townships were near factories. Okay? You needed to learn how to be a worker, go to the factories and earn something. Not a lot, just something to keep you
Peanuts.
going.
Peanuts.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Our parents were taught branches of leaves, yet they were going to work on how to sew, on how to operate the machine. But the problem then is we had a whole lot of growth, and we became emancipated. We came out of apartheid, and we had stuff going on. Education fell behind, and the concept is if you have a boy child or boy girl, you're going to tell them go to school. No, go to school. You want a double story, man, go to school. After going to school, what do you tell them? No, go to varsity. Right? And so my main concern is we have a whole lot of curriculums, or rather our school system, that is teaching people what I would say the basics of how to think, but not developing any soft skill. You see, me, I wish I knew how to make bricks out of cement. That's me. I wish the school curriculum from grade 1 to grade 12 did not teach me how I should go, hi sir, no sir, yes, economics that. I wish I had learned some of the soft skills. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to grade 12, you are told, now go to university, go to college, go and do that. We even categorize our children, and some of them they're depressed. No, because you didn't get a bachelor's, it means you can't go to university, and that means you are nothing. But anyway, go somewhere. You get to university, you graduate, and I'm saying university as a collective, college, technicon, whatever you can think of. You get out, then boom, 34% unemployed. When we use the extended version or the expanded version, it's actually 43%, which means almost half of South Africa. Those who are legally documented in the system are unemployed. Now, the question is, we have a lot of unemployment, a lot of skills that are lacking. She said, go and do, artificial intelligence, IT skills. Where are these places? My little sisters, I used to give them a project and I said, I don't want you to come back home with these packet of sweets not sold. You know why? Because at the end of the day, the entrepreneurial spirit does not come from sitting in the classroom. It comes from daily experiences. And we have a whole lot of these issues. I see people who have even PhDs, as we said, but you tell them, look, go and, run a construction company. Here's the opportunity. They can't. Why? Because they don't even know how to mix cement. Do you know how to mix cement?
No, sir.
No.
I only know about broadcasting.
You only know about broadcasting.
Of course.
Which is a skill you probably learned along the way.
Yes.
So there are technical things like skills development that is not being, the conversation is not being heard. And she's right. Not all of us can become an entrepreneur, which is true, but all of us have the capability to do something. And like I said, if you don't do something, nothing will work. And it's easy for us to try and find a quick way out. And it's a sensitive topic. Somebody who has been 2 years not having a single income, you tell them go and become an entrepreneur. No, that is not the promise. You see, we are kept colonies in our mind. We are told get a certificate. By the way, at school, if you are best performing, what is it that they do? They give you a star.
Certificate.
For remembering what? The legs of a cricket. No, like literally, for remembering the legs of a cricket.
Yes.
You get into the workplace, they're going to tell you, for working as... My point is, don't get me wrong, we are grateful for employment. I'm saying, can we do a whole lot more? In 2020, the average pick and pay salary was net take home was around 3,090 rand. The living wage is 3.5. What is transport? How much is food? These people that are working, have you heard any of them saying, my employer has provided me opportunities to go and learn boiling, to go and learn how to become a forklifter? No. Your job is to come work. The owners of resources, like the government, seemingly don't have enough conversations about the curriculum from a young age. School is important. It's still the key.
Which is leading to my second question. I wanted to know, what do you think can be done, or what are the practicals that can be done while we wait for the government or owners of resource to address this issue?
Let's stop tweeting, guys, and start doing something. I'm not saying get off Twitter. I'm saying the national strike. Did you see it? Did it happen? It happened on Twitter, right? No, we are talking about June 16.
Yes.
People were badly hurt, frustrated enough to go onto the streets.
Yes.
And what do?
We tweet about it.
We tweet about it. So my point is, there's still a lot that government needs to do.
Yeah.
A year after apartheid, you say, oh, maybe my expectations are too high. They're still trying to readdress, come up with solutions. It's been more than 20 years. Unemployment is still rising.
Yeah.
The comfort pushing when they released the stats, you know what they said?
Yeah.
We created 300,000 jobs. When you look at those 300 jobs, they were in the education sector. Not just education, you look at your education assistants. 6 months employment. How does that solve the issue?
Yeah.
We are still going to speak about crime because anyway, somebody's going to think that is the way out. So
Yes.
what we can do is collectively in our small places is let's get off Twitter. When the government sees that we can national strike on Twitter and they are not willing to do anything, they know that we are a generation of cowards. The only way we can start mobilizing ourselves is aligning ourselves with what we want for our children, for ourselves. And that's not only with the curriculum, but also looking at, community projects. A lot of skills are lost. You tell a young kid now, let's go and do a garden. If it's not in the curriculum, they'll tell you are crazy. You are too old. You are thinking like an old person. So let's get off social media when it comes to issues that affect us. By the way, if you are earning, this is not me, this is stats.
Yes.
If you are earning less than 40,000, you are not even in the middle class. You are poor. So just because you can afford a polo does not mean we are emancipated. We still have a long way to
Did
go.
you have to go there, Marasa?
It's a common car. I'm sorry.
As a business management lecturer,
Yes.
how do you think it is easy, or how can one establish a business?
I always tell my students, guys, don't wait till you retire.
Yes.
When you retire, your pensions, you put them into the business, they fail. By the way, more than 40% of startup businesses do not make it out of the introductory phase. So I always say when you're young, you go and sell, open a spaza, it fails, you go back to your parents' house, you cry, dust yourself up and you start. My point is, when it comes to businesses, to get it registered is the easiest part. It costs less than 1,000 in South Africa.
295.
Exactly.
Yes.
But you cannot just wait for registration. When was the last time any of you picked up a 5 rand in the street? Okay, maybe that's too much. 1 rand?
No one drops money anymore.
Nobody drops money anymore, right? And so I always say, for me, I do as much things as possible. I always say, if I can make just 1 rand profit, I go for it. Those who know me, they know I do whatever I have to do just to make additional money. So as young people, start. If you can braid hair, braid hair. If it gives you 50 rand profit for that day, do so. Yeah.
So Edward,
Yeah.
do you have a business?
In my mind, I have a lot of businesses.
You must start now, sir.
Yeah, the best way of doing it is to start.
Okay.
But not forgetting to learn, because business, it's nice to have an idea of saying, oh, I have a business, 9 to 5 is not for me, blah, blah, blah. But nobody really tells about the hard work that needs to be done. For me, I understand the importance of education, right? That you have to have skills, you must learn, all those things, coming from a family where we, they are working, but, agriculture, business, it's our thing, right? So, but at home as a kid, you don't get it, when they say, no, you must learn this thing, we're teaching you to survive, right? Until you hear someone like Sulibrick saying that in school, testers would test, but the finals are never finals to prepare us for the biggest test, which is survival, right?
Yes.
And that's true. because having education, it's one thing. Having the skills to survive, it's another thing, right? Because now, as a final year student, a business student, so you can imagine it's been like 4 years being trained to be a business person, but I still have aspiration of working as well, right? But my take on it, right, on our economy and how everything is going, right, is that to the government, right, make systems that are friendly to young black South Africans who does not come from families where they have resources for them to take off, right? So, and the other thing I would say, the legislation, right? We as so-called business people who are aspiring to go to that route, we want the legislation that would allow us to take risk. You understand? For example, now I can't take all my resources. The money that's supposed to go to my kid, my family, and then take a risk with it and not knowing whether or not it's protected. Creating employment, it's something that we as black people can do, or as people can do, especially in the private sector. But do we have the legislations that would allow us to take this? For example, now we're talking about land, right? Land is a big thing. The farmers are scared, right? That should we put our money and resources to this, and then the next thing people say they want to invade our land. The next thing, people want to take the resources because apparently there's amendment of laws and what, right? So we're in a tricky situation. Let the government resolve the legislations, and then I'm sure we have a lot of people who can take the risk, and those risks will amount as creating employment.
As a bookworm, are you planning on making a living out of writing?
Because maybe other commitments plus school, but I've been penning things here and there.
Yes.
I think maybe it's somewhere in the pipeline. I will.
Okay. Let's just say you are doing your third and final year, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say next year you're graduating.
Yeah.
You don't get a job.
Yeah.
What are your plans?
That's what I'm saying. Entrepreneurship, it's on the list. It's actually it's there. I know it's there. But what I'm saying is it's nice to make mistakes on someone's balance sheet, right? The resources are there. I can start even today say no, I want to do this and I'm gonna do it, right? But now I have the fuel, right? So even when I would converse with other business people, I know that business is about processes, systems. I can tell you the accounting systems. I can tell you what's supposed to be business strategies, the corporate strategies. I know those things, but I haven't done them practically. So maybe at Masters Podcast they might hire me, and I will learn on their balance sheet, and then after that,
don't worry. So all in time, all in time. Wrapping this topic, I want us to talk to Ma'am Mamoloko T. You can come through, ma'am. She's the career center coordinator at Bank. You can come and see it. Go in there. Are you okay, ma'am?
I'm good, thank you.
As a career center coordinator, what are you guys doing here at Bank to tackle this issue of unemployment?
Okay. With regards to the unemployment, the numbers they're staggering, and as you mentioned in the beginning, in terms of your intro, you mentioned that the unemployment rate is sitting at 34.5, and the youth unemployment rate is sitting at 63.9. So with us, in terms of the conversations that we are having, especially when we have the work readiness coaching sessions, the conversations I have with the graduates is that let's work on our minds, because that's the one thing, we are talking about mental health, mental illness, is that when we are cornered, our mind shuts down, in a sense that you feel like, okay, I cannot move forward from here. And that's why those are the conversations I'm having with our graduates, that let's deal with our mindset firstly, because that's what needs to be stretched. and that let us deal with the entitlement mentality that yes, I am a graduate, therefore I need to be employed, as if the world owes you something. It doesn't. And that's not to say when you have graduated, your qualification is null and void. It does not amount to anything. But we need to understand that your qualification has given and offered you something in terms of the knowledge and the skills. And now when you get to the workplace, the employer is also looking for something that you need to work on. And when you look at with every interview and with every job spec, the skills there are listed: time management, leadership skills, flexible adaptability. And those are the things you should really reflect on. As much as, for instance, you might be proficient in a programming language, Python, JavaScript, or whatsoever, those are the soft skills matter as well to the employer. So that's what we are saying. You can have the technical skills great, but the soft skills are also just much as important. And those are the conversations we are having now. And now what we are looking now is hosting an entrepreneurial workshop. Because as much as one can be in the field, like you're looking for employment, you want to secure this job, it might not happen. So what then? And that is where the thinking differently, the mindset, thinking differently, applying what you have learned. What did you learn? How can you apply that practically? So now we are moving from the theoretical and the dependency mentality. Then that's why we have invited stakeholders like the NYDA. We've spoken to ABSA, we've spoken to the Department of Labor. Like, okay, let us sit and have a similar conversation like we're having now. How do we empower our students and our graduates? How do we help them think differently? Because as much as someone would want to start a business and want to, be independent, because there's a lot of risk entailed in being, going the entrepreneurial, the venture of entrepreneurship. There's a lot of risk involved. You need to be a leader and you need to be accountable always. In an instance where you are in a workplace like this, someone will hold you accountable. They'll always remind you, have you sent that email? What was the feedback? But there you're the one who is in charge and you need to be accountable. So then what then happens is that the questions are, how do I start? And why should I consider entrepreneurship? And who will fund me? Because those are the questions we have. Like, I want to start, but I do not have the money. So where do I go? And that's why we are setting up this roundtable to have these stakeholders, to have our graduates and students ask those questions so that they walk out of there empowered, but more than anything knowledgeable as to, okay, if I want to start, what do I do and where do I go? So that's why we feel we need to have those entrepreneurial workshops as well.
How do you see SA in the next near future in terms of unemployment?
That's a very difficult question. Given where we are, I'd say for me, I'm worried and I'm very much concerned. But in the same breath, I'll say, what are we doing to make things better for ourselves? Because I think with everything that is happening, we are understanding that we are on our own in a way. So what am I doing? What am I thinking about? And I think what has been said here, I agree with every panelist, what they've been saying. It's about being accountable for your own life and your own future. Because I cannot depend on the head of state to say, if he's not making these decisions, therefore my life is in his hands and therefore I cannot move forward. So it's about taking accountability and finding ways to equip ourselves. I'd say it's more about you, because if we now try and think about the stats and all the trajectories and all, we are going to have a mental breakdown.
Definitely.
Madam Amologo, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
A round of applause for Toya, guys. Yes.
Doing a good job.
You can go and sit, ma'am. Before we go to this topic, I want you to rate me on a scale of 10. If I'm on the right track, you to be specific. Because he's a business management lecturer. I have founded an online radio station where I come from.
Yes.
I have founded Masters Podcast. I have 2 employees. I'm the boss. I used to sell sweets at high school. I used to have 2 employees in high school.
Yes.
They were selling sweets on my behalf.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that kind of person who can go out there and sell sweets.
Yeah.
I used to sell at my father's shop. On a scale of 10, how can you rate me? Do you think I'm on a right track?
Should I answer as a person who didn't teach you business?
Yes.
No, I say 100%. 100%. And I'm not buying you. Just supporting what we have said is, like I said, you won't pick up 1 rand on the street.
Yes.
If an apple is going to give you 2 rand profit, sell an apple.
I get you. The value of education in our digital economy. I would like to start with you, ma'am. What would you like to enlighten on our youth in what a digital economy is?
I think I've already touched on what a digital economy is, but it's mostly the new set of skills that are being introduced into our industries. It's no longer just the traditional, I want to be a doctor. There's more to being a doctor these days than it used to be back then. There's more modern technologies that they're using there. They're using different x-rays. You need to be a radiologist to work in certain industries and all of that. So digital economy is not so traditional, and it means we need to hone new types of skills that cater to what it is now.
Okay. Sir, to a 7-year-old child who's watching this, because I have friends who are 7-year-old.
I'm 7-year-old.
What is a digital economy in simple terms?
I think the simplest way I can put it is connections made online through devices, data and gadgets that offer exchange of services, information and products.
Are you guys referring to TikTok?
It's also digital, but when we speak about a market, literally we're just saying it's literally any place where a buyer can come and they exchange services. So when we talk about digital, we're saying it's now happening on a digital platform, whether the platform is on social media or it's literally on an online mall. By the way, we have online malls where you just take a picture and they search it for you and they do the packaging. So it's online. It's a market online where we use devices, data, technologies to make connections, and this happens globally.
How do we prioritize skills development given the current economic situation?
Once again, going back, we need to understand, okay, we're in the 4th industrial revolution and everything is hunky-dory when we talk about take-home assessments. I know people love that. But when we speak about business as well, to say, people now love everything that is convenient. And she was saying, when we think about being a doctor, it's not just about the traditional, I'm going to fix you because they stabbed you while you were partying. But it's about, understanding that it's now easier to reach somebody in China when you're in South Africa. So let's look at how do you, manage a podcast. Those are some of the skills development we're talking about. How do you operate Take-A-Lot? How do you operate Checkers or Pick and Pay ASAP online? Where does e-commerce come in? E-learning. There are many opportunities, and let's look at it this way. When you go to Truworths, you go there, you want to buy, there's an online system that people use. They no longer have to call, by the way. They just put on the system and, it generates a whole... Those are some of the soft skills. The technologies, the skills to be able to come up with those technologies. And like I said, there may be some movement that the owners of resources, such as the head of state or, that they're trying to come up with, but we need to find ourselves developing what is it that I am comfortable with. No, in fact, let me scrap that.
Yeah.
How can I get out of my comfort zone to learn a skill that is not traditionally pushed forward in maybe your mainstream education? How do I develop those sort of skills to make myself unique? We laugh about it, but some of our parents don't know how to use social media.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you cannot be on social media, there are some things that you don't know that you need, but they are specifically available online. Yes. And if we are going to talk about the exchange between information, money, and services, if you are lacking those skills, simple skills such as typing an email, you are cut off from that digital economy. You are only exposed to the reality of traditional means of getting services and information.
What are your observations of the digital market?
It's booming, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime. You see companies, for example, such as Takealot, they are creating a landslide in terms of, pushing products, brands, information, and most businesses are trying to adapt. You have online stores that, like I'm saying, that they are taking place. And the more we are, getting millions of subscribers on TikTok, that just tells you that even 7-year-olds that are watching your podcast now, they're being exposed to what? The online world. So at the end of the day, it's still going to continue to grow. I don't know what fifth, I don't know if it's going to be... Is it going to be fifth industrial revolution?
Maybe in the fourth industrial as it is.
Yeah, so we're still evolving.
But speaking about subscribing, don't forget to subscribe on Master's Podcast. Digital economy is IT, I suggest, or I guess.
Part of it.
Yes. Do you think youth of today, we need to consider more in studying IT?
Okay, here at Rosebank College we have digital marketing.
Okay.
It's not specifically based on IT. The point was, like I said, when I was defining the whole digital economy, was that it's interactions that are made online.
Yeah.
I don't have to have an IT qualification to go on to Twitter and say, guys, this is my homepage, visit it. These are my online catalog, have a look at it. So it's a little bit of every qualification or every skill that you can get on an online platform. Teaching is happening online. Has a little bit to do with IT, but just having general soft skills. Makeup tutorials. There are people who are paying for makeup tutorials online, right? I'm not saying I know how to operate, these cameras, but at least I know how to switch on a camera at the very least. So, IT devices, IT skills have them, marketing skills have them, communication skills have them, financial literacy have them. These are all skills and information that are included online.
Okay. Gender-based violence and substance abuse. Madam Maji, this is our last topic. What is the difference between physical and emotional abuse?
Physically is when you are in a relationship and you get physically attacked by your partner. You may show through bruises, and then emotionally is when you are in a relationship and you are not coping emotionally with your emotions, your thoughts. So your emotions are not positive in this relationship. So you're not coping emotionally in your relationship, and you are still within your relationship. That's when we say this person is emotionally abusing you. So emotionally you're not coping and emotionally you're being affected. But the physical part of it is when someone is taking out anger through physically beating you and physically injuries.
To a student who is willing to concentrate on their studies and they are facing abuse, what are the impact that you think it can do, gender-based violence can do to them?
Sure, it can do a lot. Right? It can be seriously, it can cause you trauma going forth. I'm not going to talk about the new possibilities of failing, that's the. But on you yourself, it can cause quite a lot. You may be afraid to even try another relationship. You grow with the trauma of being either physically, emotionally abused.
Trust issues.
You go with the trust issues, all those, and you think Mulanga is Edward in your relationship. So it's affecting you and your growth more than anything. So the chances of you failing, that's there. But more than anything, it can do you harm yourself and ability for you to grow without having trust issues.
I will be specific about this question. A lot of ladies are being abused in exchange of expensive things. And they are keeping the silent about this. What's your take on that?
Mulanga, this goes back to how you are raised. I might be with Kapuso because Kapuso is paying my fees, or there's something that I'm benefiting from Kapuso, and it's a bit difficult for me to leave Kapuso. And though I know, right? So it's what I'm benefiting, how I was raised from this. If I can afford more than my boyfriend, it's not so easy for him to physically or emotionally abuse me. Or it's him who's going to benefit from me more than I will be benefiting from him. I don't know if you understand that. So if I'm a bit disadvantaged and I'm getting something from my partner, it's a bit difficult to work out as compared to I can buy you and your mom. So it's easy for someone who can afford life, unless if they want love, like it's pure love. But if it's not that, and if it's another what I'm getting from my partner, it's easy for me to work out as compared to me having to gain from this relationship.
Sure. What do you think can happen to someone who was abused today in the next 5 years?
Depending on how you deal with it.
Okay.
Hence, people like me are existing in life.
Okay.
So if you use therapy, another thing that I love is a lot of us nowadays we normalize therapy. If you go the therapy route and have to deal with it, it won't affect you in the next 5 years. But if you hold on to it, it goes back to you having trust issues, thinking every guy is the same. You're just in a relationship to milk out people. You are not easy to give out love. We have those people who exist that will say, I don't want to love. I don't care about men. But deep down, it's coming from the pain that they've experienced. But if you deal with what you experienced, if you self-awareness as well, what you want and what you don't want. So it's how you deal with it. If it happened today and how I deal with it today, it may. If I deal with it positively in a way that is going to give me positive results, then it's not going to affect me in the 5 years. But if I do absolutely nothing about it and act like I'm fine, it goes back to the mental illness, mental breakdown at some point. So you grow with anger, that may affect you in the next 5 years.
So, for someone who's a substance abuser, how do you think it can affect their schoolwork?
There's this debate that was had on Radio 2000. I think it was around last week, around 8 with Mapaseka. They were talking to high-functioning alcoholics. I'm not sure if you guys are synonymous with that term. So, high-functioning alcoholics are those, for instance, a person has to drink every day because that's how they cope. But at the end of the day, they get burnt out in the long run. So I think generally it's a tricky platform to have to maybe discuss high-functioning alcoholics. But at the same time, when we speak about students whom they come to class drunk and all of that, I think maybe let's have a discussion about how are they then surviving? How are they then, adopting or not adopting to the new situation? Because at the end of the day, if I say to a person, don't drink, the person will feel offended. Okay? Because then is the issue alcohol or is the issue their behavior? Because at the end of the day, like we've already spoken, we have to be accountable. So if there's a student coming to class and you know that you are drinking, come speak to our SWM. If you can find somebody to speak to, let's find the cause. Because you coming to class with alcohol, it's the outcome. There is something deeper that needs to be discussed or addressed.
Rumor says it that people who use dagga or drugs, it helps them to cram things. Rumors.
Well, I'm more into the commerce world, so I wish I had expert knowledge on that.
Okay.
But like I said, it goes back to the conversation of, people who are substance dependent and they are functioning with it. Like I'm saying, once again, what is the benefiting cause of you smoking dagga or weed? I'm not encouraging it, yet at the same time I'm saying have a discussion.
Yes.
It's like saying, I'm not working so I can steal. You get it? The outcome of you stealing and the outcome of you using those drugs and whatever they are short-lived. You might get killed, you might go end up in jail, but those are the outcomes of the underlining factors. If you have to cram using drugs, it means you have a learning disability. Let's find a way to help you learn with your learning disability. It's like a performer who uses drugs to get on stage. If you are shy, let's find a coping mechanism, because those things have some sort of consequence in the future. But you consuming it is the outcome. What is the problem? We need to have discussion of those causes.
I get it.
Yeah.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
what's your take on substance abuse to our youth?
Substance abuse, it's I would say it's sad if it's happening. I'm sure it might be happening because it's not good on our health in general. You don't wanna be 35 and look like you are 60, right?
Yes.
So I would say it's quite a big problem, right? That needs to be addressed, and it just takes us back to mental health, right? I mean, do I really need to alcohol for me to be happy? You know, do I need alcohol to go and propose that girl that I admire? No, I don't need that, right?
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. It goes back to mental health. Like, I don't think happy people, I don't think people who are stable emotionally, mentally, they would depend on alcohol, right? So, yeah, that's just my take.
As we are celebrating Youth Month, June 16, what do you think South Africans can do to drive gender-based violence and substance abuse conversations?
We need more and more awareness. We need, I don't know, I think, actually, I don't know if my memory serves me well. There was used to be, I don't know if it's Castle Light, whatever, they would do awareness such as don't drink and drive, blah, 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 all those things along those conversations, right? So if we get like brands, especially the alcohol brands, to do awareness of that, because they have the market, you know, the people who consume alcohol, they probably buy to those brands, they would listen to them more, right? And then on our personal spaces, you know, as I believe that we all leaders because we all influencers, you know, I'm sure my younger brother sees me as this superhero, and so how I live my life, I have to influence them to sort of don't do that, but not telling them, but showing them that, you know, we don't really need alcohol to be happy, whatever.
I get it. Before we wrap this up, because we are done with our topics, I don't know if you guys want to ask anything to my panelists here. No questions, right?
Regarding the you know, what you're talking about.
Okay.
I might have a few questions.
Okay.
Mr. Malachi, right?
Yes.
So, you were talking about regarding the what you call business
Digital economy.
Yeah. Regarding the sponsorship and patents and what how would you say like, or how would you put it to youth that don't have parents? The person that doesn't have the option of going out there taking risks and not having someone to fall back on, right? And creating employment, my president, right? How do you plan to go about, you know, educating the youth in how can I put this, in creating their own things, or creating something that they can be proud about, and sustain themselves. That's all, right? There's this other thing, youth empowerment, right? You were busy talking about, I forgot you. You were talking about the, what you call, different institutions that you approached, right? Of which you want to create programs whereby you engage with youth about businesses and so on. We have a perfect example. If I remember correctly, there was a picture or an article about the Limpopo provincial government and through the Limpopo economic development, right? They're creating a digital hub in what you call Seshego, right? Why don't we why don't we do those kind of things, right? For, you know, business side of things, educate the youth. For example, let them come with business ideas and so on, or business expo, right? Like the digital hub to you know, express themselves, get new ideas out there, see how, you know, business is, you know, operated, or how can you start your own business? Like, make it easier for them, make it accessible for them to, you know, start their own businesses.
So the first question was nice.
Yeah, it was for you. Yes.
All right. So, thank you for those questions, by the way. I think going back to the discussion I had to say, as youth start as early as possible. You mentioned that sometimes we come from child-headed families whereby there's nobody to fall back on, and probably based on social grants, income is limited. So to that person, once again, every business must have a starting point. Okay, and I've seen child-headed families from the grant that they're getting making something as simple as fat cooks and trying to sell them, right? So that the idea is, while we have our our CEDA who are funding business opportunities, where it's not practical for you to start a business that requires 200,000 with what you can afford to lose. Even in difficult situation, start there. But at the end of the day, let's keep on, let's find discomfort in our comfort to say, what is it that I can do differently? But at the end of the day, I believe, one thing I wish he had mentioned in June 16, and we need to go back and have community leaders, because we have societies that don't have, community halls. Community halls were there for, such things where we go back and we say, guys, the spirit of Ubuntu is not something we realize on Twitter. Hence I said, let's get off Twitter, guys. Let's be activists. Let's be bold. But for child-headed families, consult as much as you can, structures, and NGOs as possible. But where possible, if you can sacrifice for that month, buy pin tops, try to sell them. If it's not working out, of course, consult with others. But for business, start as little as you can.
Oh yeah. To get into business, like as you would know, because he's one of my mentee, right? I always tell them that you are the business, right? You are the business, so you have to look the world as a business and say, what is it that can I offer to the world, right? I mean, I think it has been mentioned before that we can't all be engineers, we can't all be doctors and whatnot, right? So what kind of a business are you, right? So this is more like personally to you. But in general, I think we are aware that we are living in a digital world. So it's either you are in tech or you are in agriculture. People will always be hungry. People, after coding and whatnot, they have to address the stomach issue. So I would say that go and network, right? To the youth, I would say go and network, have mentors, engage with your peers about business, and the best way of doing business is to start, right? And then that's where you will learn a lot of things by just starting, right? No one has the formula to say, guys, let's do this, guys, you understand? But if you are in the process, if you are in the bandwagon, you're gonna get banned, you're gonna learn, and then you're gonna keep going. With resources or without resources, right? Because you are the business. What is it that you wanna offer, right? Yeah, that's just my take.
Just to respond to what's in so hence I was saying, and I think I was also extending an invite to the students and to the graduates that in October, in the first week of August rather, we will be having an entrepreneurial workshop. And therefore, that's why I mentioned that we have reached out to the NYDA, we have reached out to the Department of Labor, and they are ready to address and to respond to maybe some of the questions, someone who's looking to start a business. How do I start? Where do I go? And I think also now that we are in the digital era, the question would be, how do I then go about creating an online presence? and selling my product there. So what is needed? So I think we are moving. This conversation was much needed. We are moving in that direction as well as an institution to say we are then thinking that it's good that we encourage our students to then start. And how do you start? And where do you get funded? So then that's what we are planning.
You are happy, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. Because of time, I will be forced to conclude this because my panelists here have to go to classes. So big shout out to you guys, everyone who's here for attending this seminar. Thank you very much. And that is all that we had on today's episode of Bakanda Mswana Mastermind, the master of radio, TV, and everything in between. Narazava Twachir Mushad.